Venom has faced off against Spider-Man dozens of times since the 1980s, but recent years have proven very successful for the symbiote's solo career. So what exactly has the lethal protector proven itself capable of? We're here to explain Venom's many superpowers, from the iconic to the truly bizarre. Even though Venom needs a host in order to utilize most of his abilities, the alien symbiote can still function on its own. But not bonded to Peter Parker, Eddie Brock, Ain Weiing, or a literal horse, Venom is essentially a sentient ball of goo that pokes and stretches around until it finds a suitable vessel. Venom and other symbiotes are particularly drawn to those who experience strong emotions, and they're not so easily removed.
And sometimes these things in nature, when they bind, they can be hard to unbind.
Once a symbiote is bonded to someone, it can cover up its host at will, both exposing itself and allowing it to unleash its powers. Usually, it maintains a general form of its host, but it's capable of being creative. In Venom's first comic book appearance, it takes the form of a black Spider-Man suit, giving Peter Parker exciting new abilities while also taking control of his body. Venom is ultimately a shapeshifter and can take on various forms. It uses camouflage to blend in with its surroundings when the need arises, often using trees to its advantage. It can even mold itself to serve useful functions in a pinch, like when it turns into a parachute in Venom: The Last Dance. Venom's powers allow for nearly limitless possibilities, but there's so much more it can do whenever there's a host involved. Many of the powers people associate with Venom are actually ones that it has inherited from various hosts, most notably Spider-Man. In certain adaptations, Venom can climb up walls and shoot its own webs, but that's only after it bonded with Peter Parker and gained access to his genetic code. Those powers remained when Venom bonded with Eddie Brock, which comes in handy but also has some drawbacks. For instance, in The Amazing Spider-Man number 300, Peter is able to defeat Venom once he realizes that it makes webbing using its own symbiotic material. The more Venom shoots webs, the weaker its bond with Eddie becomes, which Spider-Man uses to his advantage. It may have taken some time for Venom and Eddie to learn how to work as a team, but the ability to enhance the host powers and retain them across multiple bodies makes Venom one of Spider-Man's most powerful villains. This is why Venom will always have a special connection to Spidey. Not only do they look alike, but his powers stem directly from the wall crawler's DNA, except for in the Tom Hardy movies, of course.
You gonna eat anybody else?
Most likely.
Oh, God.
As with many superpowered characters, Venom has enhanced strength, durability, and stamina, with the exact extent of those powers varying greatly from version to version. Generally, it's accepted that Venom increases its host strength to be able to lift up to 40 tons. This puts Venom on pretty equal footing with Spider-Man during fights, and the symbiote has more than held its own against many other worthy adversaries. Despite the X-Men villain Juggernaut being strength incarnate in the comics, Venom has been able to defeat him. The symbiote even went toe-to-toe with Superman in the DC and Marvel crossover event All Access. Venom stood its ground for much of the fight, requiring Superman to team up with Spider-Man to take it down. Power scaling is often the bane of many comic books fans' existences. After all, Venom has certainly lost plenty of fights, but combat seems to largely come down to how much a character knows about Venom's weaknesses of fire and high-frequency noises. Of course, the symbiote is aided by the fact that it's incredibly durable, easily taking bullets without allowing any damage to come to the host. When Venom and its host sustain damage in a fight, the symbiote can heal both of them much quicker than a normal human body would. However, that only scratches the surface of what Venom can heal. There have been many storylines in which Venom heals illnesses and diseases in its host, like in Insomniac's Spider-Man 2 video game, in which Harry Osborn has Astra syndrome. Harry's father begins experiments to bond Harry with the symbiote, and initially, Harry appears to be all better. Of course, it's not long until the symbiote begins corrupting Harry, and he's resistant to the idea of separating from Venom out of fear that the disease will make him weak once more. While Venom offers sheer power, its ability to regenerate is definitely one of its more enticing qualities and a big reason why hosts can be hesitant to surrender the symbiote.
We're going to heal everyone.
Of course, Venom's healing abilities aren't limited to movies and video games, as Flash Thompson regained the ability to walk after bonding with the Venom symbiote in the comics. As long as Venom is attached to a host, the two can communicate telepathically. That means that it has two minds in one body, which provides the anti-hero with an additional layer of defense while going up against other telepaths. In X-Men Blue Annual Number 1, Venom takes on Jean Grey, and while the massively powerful mutant still emerges victorious, it takes her longer than usual to get the job done. The primary communication power that makes Venom such a significant threat is the symbiote hive mind. Venom can access information about other symbiotes from its homeworld and even gain details about its species history. This is all under the surveyorship of Null, the creator of the symbiotes. He links them all through a hive mind, making himself the nexus that controls them all. This hive mind has even been shown to transcend the multiverse, which is possibly how Tom Hardy's Venom knew about Spider-Man despite the two never merging. The potential voices don't end there. In Venom Space Knight number 2, Venom gains the power of Cosmos Communion, allowing the Flash Thompson-hosted symbiote to hear those in need from across the vacuum of space. Spider-Man's famous spider sense helps him get the upper hand in a tricky situation, but it isn't actually effective against Venom. The reason for this comes down to that initial bonding. Spider-Man can't internally register the symbiote as a foe because it was part of his body for an extended period of time. Combined with Venom's camouflaging, it's pretty easy for Venom to get the jump on Peter Parker. After all, he won't have any warning that the symbiote is about to strike from the shadows.
Ooh, my spider sense is tingling. If you know what I'm talking about.
This suggests, however, that Venom would indeed trigger the spider sense of any and all other spider-powered individuals, like Miles Morales, provided they didn't previously bond with him. Ben Reilly, also known as Scarlet Spider, does sense when Venom is nearby during their battles in the comics. This is despite the fact that Ben is Peter Parker's clone, which makes things very confusing. But the less time spent thinking about the clone saga, the better. It usually appears as though Venom didn't inherit any sort of spider sense from Peter, although it does typically display good cognition when it comes to nearby threats. This is likely due to the symbiote's alien origin and its connection with others of its kind. If they're close by, Venom can sense it. Venom can manipulate its very being to grow whatever kind of appendages it wants, from long tendrils to functional wings. When Venom bonded with Mac Garkan, it used its biomass to create a tail similar to the one the villain wore in the Scorpion getup. Newer iterations of the character feature Venom creating weapons through its biomass, turning its arms into blades and axes. Agent Venom has even been depicted throwing the biomass like knives that shred enemies before reabsorbing themselves into Flash Thompson's body. It's also been known to grow venomous fangs that it uses to disable combatants. In Let There Be Carnage, it would seem that most of the time, Venom simply prefers to use fists and tendrils to fight opponents, whereas Carnage opts for bladed appendages. But Venom knows when to bring out the big guns and when to get defensive, even transforming itself into nigh-invulnerable armor on occasion. As goofy as Venom likes to be at times, it's actually quite intelligent. Maybe that's not so surprising, given its penchant for eating brains. But Venom is so much more than a gambling-addicted rage monster. It's not exactly book-smart, but Venom's intelligence manifests itself in other ways. Venom displays a photographic memory in Let There Be Carnage. After just a few glimpses of the drawings in Cletus Cassidy's cell, the symbiote is able to recreate them later. This intelligence extends beyond what Venom might have acquired from previous hosts, as Venom has access to billions of years' worth of knowledge through the symbiote hive mind. Venom is also an adept tactician in the heat of battle, managing to defeat all sorts of sinister symbiotes through creative means. Venom has even proven adept at picking up other Earth languages, like Mandarin, which he uses to greet Mrs. Chen.
Good evening, Eddie.
Hey, Mrs. Chen.
Good evening, Venom.
He says hi.
It's hard to kill Venom, and not just in combat. The symbiote can survive in practically any environment, including the far reaches of space. When Venom travels with Flash Thompson in Venom Space Knight, their ship gets blown out of space before the pair crash land on an alien world. Not only is Venom able to survive the vacuum of space until they wind up on a planet, but it's able to surround Flash so that he survives too. The symbiote can also protect itself and its host from noxious gases, even creating a filtration system when underwater so its host can continue to breathe. These powers can extend to others outside of the host, as shown in Venom Volume 2, number 38. Jack-O-Lantern unleashes a poisonous gas to try and kill Andy, a student at the school Flash Thompson works at. To save her, Flash extends a portion of the symbiote so that she can continue to breathe safely. At the same time though, part of it bonds with her to transform her into Mania, giving her similarly dangerous abilities. Venom can famously merge with humans and animals, but one underappreciated ability of the symbiote is its capability to enhance and effectively possess inanimate objects. This was put on glorious display in Venom Volume 2, number 36, as Flash Thompson gives chase to a criminal. In order to stop the suspect, Venom turns an abandoned vehicle into a hot rod that would make Dominic Toretto jealous. The Venom car comes complete with a personalized license plate and a giant tongue sticking out of the hood. The most iconic example of this is, of course, the symbiote suit. In Spider-Man 3, rather than bond directly with Peter Parker, Venom takes on the form of a black jumpsuit that turns up his powers while also bringing down his attitude. It nearly bonds with Peter permanently, but ends up teaming with Eddie Brock instead, turning into the humanoid version of the villain that we all know best. One symbiote ability that fewer Venom fans seem to know about is his ability to surf the web. Quite literally. The anti-hero showed off some serious digital savvy when he uploaded himself to a computer in Venom Carnage Unleashed number 4. In this particularly crazy comic, Venom takes its symbiotic beef with its fellow symbiote into the digital realm, after a company called Extreme Violence Video Games designs a game about Carnage. Feeling stiffed on royalties, Carnage confronts the game's creators after discovering that symbiotes can transfer into the internet and kill people remotely. Venom Venom, bearing the same ability, tracks Carnage into cyberspace in order to save the day. Venom Carnage Unleashed number 4, which came out in 1995, is definitely a product of its time, complete with fear-mongering about violent video games and a total misunderstanding of how computers work. That said, there's nothing stopping Venom from once again pulling a Wreck-It Ralph and breaking the internet. After all, Carnage seems to have kept his web surfing powers in live action.